Kenjutsu is a relative term applied to the art of Japanese sword. In large studies, the classical term for centuries was heiho, or strategy. This implies a deeper learning than simply mastering the techniques of fencing. The theories of the Japanese strategy applied in the study of Kenjutsu are distinguishing, and therefore their application needs the attention and presence of a master, so the idea and the concepts of the art can be absorbed. Each sequence of Seitegata is studied within a principle of strategy, which characterizes each form of attack and defense. The forms set in pre-sorted sequences refer to a thought built from a specific heiho. For the Bugei teachers, heiho studies require understanding about the scenario offered by each situation. This importance is always emphasized as a way to develop the way of thinking of each moment. Each variation respects the technique's unique characteristics without altering the principle employed, that permit us to identify the Ryu history or the logical thought within a specific period. When we start to understand those concepts and take a very deep look to the technique, the first point we have to consider is that the column is the center of the fluence of our ki energy to the top of our body. This makes the bridge between two axes. Many teachers used to refer the column as ten no hashi, bridge to heaven. These expressions symbolize the path to be traveled by the energy that leaves the hara. However, for Kenjutsu, to make this energy come to the hands require a more meticulous study. The theory confirms one of the foundations of physics, the principle of energy conservation, which ensures that the total energy of a system never disappears, cannot be destroyed or arise out of nothing. The energy is presented in various ways that change continuously, but always remains constant. If we consider the energy as water, the source will be the hara, and the column the river that leads the water through the land. The way we hold the tsuka is the fundamental requirement for the correct energy's flow through the blade to achieve its correct destination. Nothing flows beside himself. Much more than merely developing a specific technique that dates back to ancient forms of practice with the Japanese sword, Kenjutsu and its practical application requires something more than uncomplicated attacks and defenses. Implement a convincing strategy that involves the opponent in a web of movements that prior the ultimate technique is what characterizes the form studied by each school. Different Ryu study a sort of sequential attacks combination that leads the uke to a desired point. The timing, precision, and speed must be adequate so the legitimacy of the investment can result in success. Once we apart these forms, they are only an illustration of an old style. The accuracy is a second point to be worked. The precision and expertise should be together as the ma'ai, which establishes the exact distance to the cutting time. It is also significant the fact that so many schools use the Kenjutsu forms coded with a Bujutsu way of thinking and adopt to move without a predetermined way, hinder the action of the opponent. This strategy intends to use any technique that could keep the mind free to flow and win the battle. A free mind of pre-sorted forms must also be sure to get rid of the desire to win and embrace defeat in combat. Although we could speak about developed battlefield strategy, without doubt, within Kenjutsu's concept, the reasoning requires some peculiarities. Many of the great masters of strategy established for themselves a guideline, and, in general, when the school follows an ancient lineage, their explanation can be somehow confusing. All the classical arts of fighting were created to fit in all possible circumstances. Despite that, all that is practiced today in the curriculum of martial arts are kata, arranged forms, which requires maximum ability performance within the study, at least in what we know as Kenjutsu, Yaijutsu, Batojutsu, and other arts of war. The swordsman must draw his sword with great speed and, in a mere moment of a second fraction, use a strong and precise movement. However, he may be free to execute chiburi and take the time he determines necessary to do it, as the combat is already finished. A true swordsman considers the sword as an extension of his body. A valuable ancient lesson, considered so by many also as a secret concept, is based on the idea of katate uchiwa gosun no tokuari. The one-hand attack provides an advantage of 5 sun. Sun is an odd measure that is equivalent to 3,03 centimeters, and if the practitioner didn't achieve a good technical level for cuts sustained by only one hand, will inevitably be slow, and disadvantage becomes a disadvantage. Thus, if the sword can easily be used by one hand from left side to right side or in any direction, the technique will be slow. This leads us to conclude that the really important thing before a swordsman begins to use his hayawaza, fast technique, is the knowledge of his own expertise. For the practice of the sword, and especially for the techniques of cutting, it's fundamental to know the limits and possibilities of the body and re-educate the movements. For those who practice Kenjutsu, the clinical eye becomes dominant in all aspects of the sword's performance. This becomes so apparent that just by the way a person holds a katana, we can recognize if he or she is a practitioner or not. Similarly, a refined technique is easily detected when any movement is executed. A good practitioner knows when to apply the strength and when to keep the body relaxed. The strength means using muscle tone, and to apply imperfectly damage the direct order of cutting and its synthesis of elegance contained on the draw of the sword. The tension gives no permission to the energy flow. For the practice of the sword, or any practice that involves breathing and proper use of ki energy, the tension may become a physiological problem if not sought its root cause. We could find the strength and weakness in everything. To beat vigorously in a confrontation doesn't mean just hitting hard. The correct movement is closely linked to location, angle, and extension of the applied force.